Oh, we already got a water bottle.
I'm going to read the bio, read their bios, and then just get it kicking off here. But again, we're so happy you came. And if you have not been to this branch before, please come back because it's worth looking at this beautiful exhibition there. But we're glad you know where it is now because it's been here since Juneteenth, and some of you, but it's nice for Black History Month, right? Right, okay. All right, Beatrice Dixon is the CEO, co-founder, and Chief Innovation Officer of the Honey Pot Company. That deserves a round of applause. She has been named one of Goldman Sachs' 100 most intriguing entrepreneurs. She divides her time between Atlanta and Miami. Our moderator for tonight is Christina Rice, and she is a wellness entrepreneur, speaker, and the founder of Noir and Retreat Like a Boss. With Noir, she created the leading destination for luxury wellness retreats designed for Black women and women of color, and her signature coaching program, Retreat Like a Boss, equips wellness leaders to build sustainable, profitable retreat businesses with intention. And again, that deserves an applause too. My lovely partners here that are filming this for our lovely YouTube channel are probably gritting their teeth right now because I forgot to say that my name is Gina Duvernay, and I'm the Adult Services Manager for Gwinnett County Public Library. Thank you all for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yep, good. All right, thank you so much for joining us. First, I have to give you your flowers. I'll tell a short story. A couple weeks ago, I sent an email out to our community, our email list. And when everybody is doing their vision boards in January and setting their intentions for the year, I said, you don't just need Beyonce on your vision board. You need an expander. An expander is someone whose journey shows you what is possible for you. And expanders could be Tabitha Brown and Melissa Butler and Debbie Brown and you. You're my expander.
Thank you.
So I'm honored to share time and space with you. And I read the book front to back, and I'll tell you, like, I probably highlighted about 75%. It was so good. Who has read it so far? They just bought it. Okay.
Bought it, yeah.
You are in for a treat. I mean, I'm telling you, my heart was racing. And I'm reading the words and I'm like, yes, sis, same sis. Yes, I am with you on this journey. And so before we dive into the juicy specifics of the book, this was a very deeply personal, raw, and honest book. Mm-hmm. At any point, did you say, oh, this is too much? Or, because what I learned about you in the conversations we had in person, but also reading, is that you, and tell me if I'm wrong, plans to live a life that you leave nothing on the table.
Yes. Yes.
That. Does this mic work? Or is
I don't think it does. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that
Okay.
would help, wouldn't it, sister?
I was
That would,
there we go.
do it. That would do it. That's hilarious. First of all, you guys, thank you for coming to Gwinnett to see me. I'm grateful, and this is a beautiful library. Like, I didn't know, Sheena told me, that this was I just want to pay respect to the ancestors real fast, because this was a segregated school for Black. Was it just for Black girls or just Black children? Yeah, for Black children. And she told me that the stained glass over here was from a church that was nearby. I don't know. I thought that was beautiful. And so I just wanted to let any of the egg goons that may still be in this building know, thank you. And I'm glad that we were able to have this here. So I just wanted to say that first. That was a good question. Because there wasn't a moment where I was like, this is too much. But once it was done, I was like, was this too much? Like, And the way that I ended the book, I basically was like, listen, y'all, these are my stories. Try your best not to judge me, right? Because it's easy to do that. Judgment sends an energy bomb to somebody, so we got to be careful with how we think of people. I wanted to share these stories and like you said, leave it all out there because one, I'm not ashamed of my life. Two, I really, you guys will see when you read it because I've literally told everybody all my business. But part of why I did that is because I want people to understand and know that it's okay, right? Because a lot of the things that I've been through, probably everybody in this room has probably gone through at least one thing that I've been through, right? We're all connected. We all go through a lot of stuff. We all have to do things sometimes to get ahead that we may not have thought that we was gonna do, but we ended up doing it. You know what I mean? We've all done that. And I guess I just wanted people to understand that that's okay, right? Sometimes we've done things that we were ashamed of and we're still living with it, you know? I don't live with it anymore because I let it out, you know? And living with things can make you sick. You know, living with things can hold you back. Living with things and living in shame, it can create tumors in you. It can just do a lot, you know? And one of the things that my mother has always taught me is just to keep moving. She told me everything about her life. There's nothing I don't know about my mom, you know, and my mom has lived a wild life, you know. Part of it was really bad. The part where she was on her own and free, she was all the way free, you know what I'm saying? And she's just not ashamed. And I just think that that's beautiful. And so, yeah.
And I think one of the most powerful chapters is chapter 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where, and let me make sure I remember the title correctly. You have nothing to be ashamed about. And you came in hot.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I was reading it like, oh, what? Well, go off then.
Yeah.
And you talked about, I mean, throughout the book, of course, the through line through this entire book is ancestral wisdom and this intuition and listening to your body. And so I'm going to read the introduction with your mom and what you call it the soul shift. And your mom came in hot too.
She always does.
What are you lying about? My mother asked me. It was 2018 and we were sitting in my car after a doctor's appointment. Me behind the wheel, my mom next to me. While I'd mostly gotten a clean bill of health, the doctor mentioned that I had elevated thyroid levels. Nothing especially out of the ordinary, certainly nothing dangerous, but I knew my mom was going to have questions. And you said, what are you talking about? Because of course, even when our mom calls her up, what are you talking about, right? And she said, Beatrice, your full name. We don't have thyroid problems in our family. For you to develop one out of nowhere, you are lying to yourself about something. And then there's an old wise tale that says thyroid problems are a result of not living your truth. And I remember that took me back to when I was in my yoga and meditation training. And there was a couple there. And the woman who was leading the women in the space said that, especially Black women, because and there was also very few of us in this training, but she said Black women hold so much in, and then we push it down, and it just sits right in our reproductive system. So that's where we deal with, you know, period problems and cervical cancer and BV and all these things. And so this moment in the car with your mom and what you describe as a soul shift, there was so much in there. There was body intuition, there was mom wisdom, and then you also said that you just broke down because you couldn't
I couldn't
lie to
hold
her, you couldn't lie to yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't hold it anymore.
And that's how you started the book. And so tell us about that journey.
Yeah. So that journey was the moment that I realized that I needed to get out of the relationship that I was in. I was in a relationship, and I'm not going to speak against this person because I just don't even want to put that energy out there on him like that. I'll be responsible. I'll speak about me. It wasn't one that was going to serve me. It wasn't serving me. It wasn't one that was loving and kind and nurturing and right. It wasn't the abundant relationship that a human like me needed to be in. A person who's intuitive, a person who's empathic, a person who's a giver, a person who like loves for nothing, you know? And I was afraid to say that. Like I was afraid to come out of that relationship, right? I thought that if I said that it was time for me to go, I thought that something bad would happen to me, right? I thought that my saints would come after me or something, which is wild because, you know, why would my Orishas, why would my ancestors hurt me, you know? But I think when you've been a product of certain type of abuse, like mental, you know, you start to believe it. You know what I'm saying? And so that moment, hi sis, your hair is cute. That moment was the moment that I had been holding it all in, and my mom wasn't lying. I was holding it in. You know, I wasn't happy. I wasn't well. I was depressed. Honey Pot was growing, and I worked a full-time job. And Honey Pot wasn't a hustle; it was a full-time job too. Like we were in Target by that time. You know what I'm saying? It was insane. You know, life was just insane. We were raising money. We were, you know, the relationship, it wasn't just the relationship. It was a culmination of a lot of things, but that was a common denominator that wasn't serving me or my body or my mind, right? And so my mother, nobody had ever put my mortality in my face. And that's what my mother did. She basically was like, if we were to leave here right now and get hit by a truck, because it could happen. Because guess what, everybody? We're going to die, right? Not to get morbid, but this is just facts, right? We are definitely going to die. And so she just was like, listen, if we died right now, would you be okay that we died and you with the way that you've been living your life? And the answer was no, I would not be okay because I wasn't living my life. I was living my life like it didn't matter. I was living my life like, you know, unhappy, which is the opposite of what I've been conditioned from my mom, the way that my mother raised me, the way, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, like it was hard. And I had never, ever looked at it like that, you know, which
is interesting.
Which is interesting.
Because your journey from birth.
Yeah.
In your mom's womb was tragic.
Yeah.
And then you've had these moments throughout your life that probably would have made most people crumble. And yeah,
I was crumbling too, though.
Yeah. Inside, inside. And so, but in that moment, and this is what you said, if every existence can be divided into a before and after, that singular moment in the car was my turning point. Not when I moved to Atlanta, or when I started my own business, or when I left my husband, or when I made my first million. It was when my mom
put that to me like that, you know, because I was just out here acting like everything was sweet, and it wasn't. You know, I was not happy. I was not well. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't going to the doctor. I was not taking care of myself. I was thinking really bad thoughts, you know, like I was going through a lot secretly. And I'm not a person who holds things in, but I was holding everything in, and, and so honestly, like within 6 weeks, I mean, I remember we were in the car and he had said something that really aggravated me. And I turned it was like a movie scene. I did a U-turn in the middle it was crazy, in the middle of the street. I was like, oh, shit, I just did that in the middle of the street. Like, okay, B, calm down, And I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I choose me, right? I choose me. I'm done. I'm not, it's something when you're a person who takes care of everybody, because when you're that person, sometimes you just don't, you take care of everybody else and you pour all of the water out the cup and you got a little tiny drop for yourself. And I just got tired of having this tiny drop for myself, and I just made a decision and everything changed, everything changed. I got things tattooed on my hands so I could remember. They tell you fake it till you make it when you're not happy. I was doing everything that you can imagine. I was leaving notes for myself in the car, on my mirror. I moved in with my mom. I sold my house. I mean, I did everything. Everything changed. I had to clear it out. I needed to be done. And I moved so abruptly that I changed his world too rapidly. And that was hard, right? And so for that, I'm sorry, right? But I needed to choose myself and I needed to do all those things, and we're all better for it, right? But yeah, and that message is just such a real message, because you can make the decision that I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to not be happy anymore. I'm not going to keep doing for everybody else and not doing for myself. I'm just not, right? And then shift the energy to, what am I going to do? How do I want to live my life? How do I want to show up every day? What do I want to be eating? How do I want to look? You understand what I'm saying? Like, how do I want to take care of my mind? I got real into Osho. Yeah. At that time, I got real into, well, I had already been into Santeria. I initiated into Santeria in 2012. But, I even had to have a new relationship with my religion, with my spirituality, because I was practicing in a way that I was taught to practice, but it wasn't necessarily from my heart, And when it comes to loving God, whoever the God is that you're loving, because all of it's the same God, right? Religion is a school, and we all go to different schools, Everybody can choose whatever path is going to work for them. This was the path that's going to work for me, right? But I even had to shift how I was doing that,
I love that part when you, even though your family, your ancestors, and you're part Native American, when that moment, and like I said, with so many same sis, because my mom is very religious. And when I started taking yoga and meditation, she was like, I don't know what this is.
Right.
When I was collecting crystals and Buddhas, she was like, so you praying to God? And I said, no, these are tools. They're tools for me to connect to my God and my spirituality. But you also had that moment with your mom too.
I did.
Yeah. And so what was that moment for her? Because my mom, when she came to a retreat, that's when she was like, oh, I can't.
Yeah. So when I first started practicing Orisha, my Orishas actually told me that I would need to bring my mother into this to help her with her health and all of that. And I don't know if everybody in here understands what Orisha is, but it is an African spirituality, one that celebrates the goddess of the ocean, the goddess of the river, the goddess of love, the thunder. It's very similar to Indian culture. It's very similar. It celebrates what makes our world what it is, right? But even bigger than that, it celebrates your ancestors, because you can't do anything in Orisha until you have done something for your ancestors or said their name, or, everything starts and ends with them, right? Because that's your connection to the other side. And so I remember when I first started practicing Orisha, my mother felt very uncomfortable with it. But then she started to see how organized my life got, and how organized I got when it came to how I sat down with my ancestors every day and said their names and lit a candle, and how I left them water, and and how I talked to my saints on a daily basis. And she started to see my life improve. She started to see me get more organized. She started just to see how it was benefiting me. And it wasn't, the beautiful thing about Orisha is that you can still be Christian. You can still be Muslim. You can still practice whatever religions we've been conditioned to practice, right? Even with our ancestors that are from this country very likely were Christians, right? And so, so I think at first it freaked her out, because she was conditioned a certain way. She believed a certain thing, but over time, she lightened up, and then she got to be okay with it. And then she felt comfortable to bring it into her life. And that was the moment that we did it, And it's funny, because once she came into it, it completely did a 180 in her life, right? And so it's beautiful, but it's definitely something that you have to be called to. It's definitely something that you have to want. I was not going to try and force anything on my mother, because when it comes to spirituality, that shouldn't be forced. That should be personal. That should be flow,
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about Honey Pot, but the beginning of it, obviously, and we're talking about ancestors, and and your Native American side of your family, and so Honey Pot came to you in a dream. And it was after 8 months, you said, of every month getting BV. And I've had it, and that shit is horrible.
It's horrible.
It's horrible.
And it stinks.
And it stinks. And it's not even, it's uncomfortable physically, but also emotionally and mentally. And so in this moment, because you tried everything from antibiotics, from natural remedies. One night, you just had a dream.
Yeah.
Frustrated. You talked about how it was difficult, intimacy, and just the insecurity of it.
The BB I had, I was the person that stunk up the public bathroom, right? Like I remember one time getting in the car with my girlfriends, and I remember getting in the car, and I remember the moment that everybody could smell me. Like, it was embarrassing, right? It was shameful. It was it was crazy. It was hard. It's funny because it needed to probably be that bad to birth what it ended up birthing, So I'm aware of that now. In the time, I thought it was like my life was over. And it wasn't even a dream in the night. It wasn't even really a dream. Like, we were there. Because I feel like my intuitive gifts come in messages in dreams. That's one of my gifts. I can't remember what they call it, like cart something. And yeah, it's definitely sight. But but in those messages, I may not see the person's face, or I just hear a voice, right? This was like I'm sitting here with y'all today. It was like crystal clear. It was like, I'm here, she's there, the table's white, she's wearing white, everything's white, light. It was, we were in a place, right? I was somewhere, and it was not on this planet. And it was wild, and we weren't even talking with our mouths. It was like we were speaking to each other telepathically, And I just remember, like, because I didn't know this was my grandmother at first. because I never met her in real life because my grandmother died when my mother was young. And so, you know, I just remember I looked just like this person, but that's the only thing that I knew. And I remember she handed me a piece of paper and it had a list of ingredients. And, you know, maybe some of you have already heard this. So if you have, I'm sorry that you're hearing it again. But, you know, and she just wanted me to start saying the ingredients. And so I literally just was like lavender, coconut oil, apple cider vinegar, garlic. Like I remember it like it was yesterday. And then she'd say, again. And it was like I said it 100 times. And then finally she just, wake up. Like this was her saying it. Like imagine an angelic alarm clock. Like it was wild. It was like, I have never heard a sound like this. I've never seen a vibration like this, except for when I went on that mushroom journey. Yeah. I have never experienced anything like this in my life. And I literally sat up in the bed saying, apple cider vinegar, coconut oil, lavender. Like I literally sat up in the bed saying these ingredients. And I kept a piece of paper by the bed because I was pretty new in Orisha at the time, so my spirit was open. So I was dreaming and getting messages a lot. So I left paper and pen by the bed because I didn't want to forget, you know? And I wrote that down and I went to work that day because I worked at Whole Foods and I bought everything. First, I went in my mommy's room and told her about this. And she told me, because my mom is a medium and empath and intuitive and all this stuff too, obviously, because I got it from her and every other woman in my family. And she was like, oh, that was your grandmother. As clear as day. Like, oh, yeah, no big deal, you know? And I went to work, I bought all the stuff, I got home that night, had no idea what I was about to make. I ended up just I have the background because I worked in pharmacy for over 10 years of my life. So I worked in IV rooms and I batched skincare and I did all that. So my grandmother, following me as one of my guides, knew that if she just gave me the ingredients, I would be able to figure out how to make something, right? Because I had already been taught how to do that. So what I ended up making was a wash. And so I was just like, run it. Because my coochie was broken in that moment too. I had BV, a real bad case at that time. And within 4 or 5 days of using this product, I swear on everything I love, first, the odor went away. That's what I noticed within like the first couple days. Yes, sister. And then the discharge went away. Now honey pot was much stronger at that moment because it was, you know, it wasn't even honey pot then. It was just this wash that my grandmother told me to make, you know? And I remember the moment I was sitting on the toilet, I had just gone pee and I had this thing. Every time I used the bathroom, I would always smell myself. It was like a tick, you know? I think it was just a trauma response to what I was going through. I still do it, you know? I think we all do it, but I was doing it a lot then because I was constantly aware of myself. You know, I think just being a Black woman, it's in our blood, I think, from the many years of trauma and enslavement, not that we went through in our bodies, but that our ancestors went through. And not being able to take a bath when you wanted to, and not being able to use soap. I think that's part of why us being clean is so important to us. You know, I truly believe that. And so, you know, I literally remember that moment. I was like, oh, this is what I do now. That's when Honey Pot was born. That moment, that day, when I realized that this had worked, I was like, this is it. This is what I came to this planet for.
Yeah.
Right?
And I believe that the best human-centered businesses came from a human that either with a problem that solved it for themselves or somebody that they loved. And so let's talk about Honey Pot. So Honey Pot is a brand that's anchored in self-care. For me, those values start at home. Building a company requires a lot from a person. I know that so much. It gives so much emotional and professional fulfillment, financial stability, a platform to speak on important issues and actually be heard. But it also takes in return. And as the face of Honeypot, a lot of my life has become public. It could be taxing physically, emotionally, and spiritually, especially because I'm an introvert and an empath and an intuitive same. I was like, yes, I feel it. So you also said to keep my business healthy, I need to keep my spirit healthy. And I spend a lot of effort on what I call my soul work. That means different things on different days, meditating, yoga, and Reiki, connecting with my ancestors, drinking water, talking to my intuitive. Of course, I fall off the wagon sometimes. We all do. But this part right here truly spoke to me because one thing I believe in, and I think for us as Black women, where we decenter ourselves because we focus on work and life and partners and children and all that stuff, is that our toolbox is just empty.
Yeah.
So whenever we're going through something, whenever we feel a shift that needs to be made, we don't know where to go because we haven't spent enough time trying new healing modalities, right? Because we're so centered on just like day-to-day living, like you were too.
Yeah.
And so how important for you is it to keep your spirit healthy so your business is healthy?
It's the most important, because look, I used to eat, sleep, breathe. Everything was about Honeypot. Everything. From the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. And I remember we had raised like a private equity round of funding. It was one of our biggest rounds of funding. It was the round of funding before this last majority sale that we did a couple years ago. And I don't know if you guys know, but if you raise private equity or venture capital, which we had raised both, you're either selling your business or you're IPOing it. I have no desire to be running a publicly traded company. Like, no, absolutely not. I have no desire to do that. And so for me, inside, and the people within our team, that meant that at some point we were going to sell. And so I remember the moment of being like, I have got to draw a line between me and Honeypot. My whole life cannot be about this business because it will break my heart. It's not going to be mine forever, right? In fact, by this time, I wasn't a majority owner. You know what I'm saying? But that's just the way that it shakes out, right? You raise money, you get a smaller piece of the pie, but the point is making the pie extremely big. So even if it's a small piece, it's still creating generational wealth for you. So I already had that understanding. I wasn't wrapped up in needing to own all of Honeypot and majority and all that stuff, because that just wasn't a realistic thing. But I did have to stop making it my whole life. I really did. And so and I also needed to take better care of myself. And so I just started to go on a journey. I was already taking pretty decent care of my mind, but I needed to start to do better with my physical body. I was really overweight. I'm still working on it, but I've lost over 50 pounds, right? Thank you. I needed to eat better. I needed to do some longevity things because I kind of ignored my body for so long. So I needed to really go hard at it. So I started doing oxygen therapy, where I get into like a hyperbaric chamber, right? And then, me and Gwinnett became close friends. And I felt like, Gwinnett Paltrow, she's like the queen of taking care of herself, And so I felt like the fact that spirit, my ancestors and her ancestors brought us together just by chance, that kind of showed me that she was probably going to help me just by me watching her and her life on different things that I could do to take care of myself. And so I just started just going with the flow and paying attention, you know? And then I started to make baths a big part of my life. Then so I just started to pay attention to things, to different health modalities. I started seeing a functional doctor, right? Or an integrative health doctor. So it's not like a typical doctor, like if you went to like Kaiser or somebody like that. You know, unfortunately, functional medicine isn't covered with insurance. But I had to get comfortable with spending the money to take care of myself, you know, and so I learned that I had PCOS, right? I have this insulin resistance thing. I learned that it was going to be real hard for me to lose weight unless I used medicine to help me do that. I started working out. I started doing yoga. So it was really born from the moment where I was like, I have to start to take care of myself just for taking care of me, right? Because Honey Pot's gonna go on and I'm still gonna have to be here, you know? And so self-care means a lot to me. It means how I think about myself, the words that I let come out of my mouth. It means I'm not drinking out of a plastic bottle. It means that, I don't care what's happening in the world. I got to take a bath every other night, right? So I got to have all my things. It means that when I travel heavy. If I'm going for 2 nights, I still got 2 bags. You understand? Because I need all my skincare. They're not going to have that at the store. You know what I'm saying? So, because it's my crystals, it's my incense, I live on the road. So I got to make my hotel feel like home. Yep. You know what I mean? So when I get there, people make fun of me. I don't care. I'm going to get all my things out. I'm going to hang my clothes up. It means that I've worked for it. I get my house cleaned like every day. You understand? That was something I learned from GP, right? I was like, sister, you get your house cleaned every day? She was like, yeah. Because I need it. I need order in my life, right? I need it. I don't have the time to do it. So I need help with that. That's another thing with the self-help and the self-care. What are the things that I can do so I can own? So much of my time is spent working. I'm on the road. I'm in meetings. I'm on a stage talking. I just wrote this book. I'm on this book tour. So the little tiny hours that I get, right? I got to make those hours count, right? I knew today, for example, right? I knew that I'm going to be here until 8 o'clock. I'm leaving here. I got to go to the airport. I'm going to New York. I have a thing tomorrow morning, right? But today was my bath day, y'all. But I also need to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, right? So if that's the case, I need to take my bath before I leave the house because I'm not going to have time to take a bath when I get to New York because it's going to be too late. I'm already going to sleep too late, right? I need to go to bed before 10 o'clock or by 10 o'clock because if I go to sleep after 10 o'clock, that has just taken years off my life. Like, did y'all know that? I just learned that, right? We need to go to bed. Mm-hmm. And so, like self-care is like one of my gods, honestly. It is. And I worship it in a real way because I do a lot. I take care of a lot of people. I'm constantly on the road. I'm constantly busy. I need this body, and right now, I think my biological age is like 6 years younger than what I am. I want it to be like 10 years younger than what I am. You know what I'm saying? And so because my Uncle Lawyer, y'all, is going to be 103 this year. I'm trying to be like him. You know what I'm saying? And, and so really being intentional, I'm really passionate about this. And I'm talking about it because I want you to know, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing or how busy you are. We got to find a way to take care of ourselves. We have to, because we take care of everybody. We take care of everybody. You know, even like when things happen in the world, these DEI things happen. Who's gonna fight that fight? We do. You understand? So like, we have got to do a better job with ourselves.
See, I need more time. Let me tell you something. 30 minutes, 45 minutes wasn't enough because I'm still in chapter 1. But one thing I love, a couple more than many things that I love, is that you're very unapologetic of the fact that you are a Black woman scaling this company because you know you deserve and desire a life of abundance, but it also gives you choices. And so when we constantly see these conversations when a Black-owned business is acquired or sold or they exit, and it's as if people feel this betrayal. But what they don't understand, especially a product-based business, I gave you a candle, and I was like, I started to tell you a story. I sell candles, but that is hard. And there's a lot of debt accumulation, and there is a lot of I have to sell to make more, to sell to make more. And so one part that I have to get to it where you were like, I want a life of abundance. I want a family. I want my house cleaned every day. I want all of these things. And the one thing people also forget is that you are a human running a business for most of us, right? And although it is fulfilling work, and like you said, it takes a lot from you, but it also can be painful when people don't see you as human, running a human-centered business. And you talked about 3 crises that you had to navigate, from the Target Super Bowl ad, where the messaging just got all skewed in a negative way, your reformulation, and what was the other one was, when you got acquired.
Yeah.
And so, and you talked about how that nearly destroyed you. Like you had to, there were days you didn't want to get out of bed, but you also had a team that was struggling too, because they had to go online and read all those messages and read all the messages. And so what is that for you? How do you balance this human that's running this business, leading this business for humans, but also have to have a little bit of disconnect? Because as an empath and intuitive, and we all, as a founder that is very personally involved in your business, like me, we read all the bad reviews and it doesn't feel good because we are out here doing good work and we want to do good work. But sometimes people, and then the group think, which is why I got on my little Target sweater, right? Supporting Kalana Barfield because I support the Black founders. I don't do groupthink. And sometimes institutions have the big scale problems, but there's still humans that are part of those institutes, that are affected.
Yeah. So, I turned my mic off. First of all, it was the second viral moment that took me out, because I have a very, I feel very deeply. And the work that we do at Honey Pot is very important work. I mean, we are a vagina wellness company, and that is the organ that we serve. You know what I'm saying? Like through and through. That is what we do, and we do it well. But part of why we do it really well is because we do it with responsibility. We do it with love. We do it with care. We do it with good energy. We invest a lot of money into making sure the things that we make work, right? We we are conscientious about the messages that we put out into the world, the way that we talk about it. We call the organs what they are. We use a lot of comedy on our social media because you can teach a lot of things, and you can talk about real things in a way that makes people feel comfortable when it's funny, right? But the second time we went viral, it was like we changed our preservative system. And you know, I'm sure, again, I'm sure some of y'all already know, because you know, I feel like we have customers in here. Yeah, so thank you. You know, I feel it, you know. And so, but the narrative that was put out was like we didn't care, and what we were doing was wrong, and the decisions we made weren't the right ones, and you know, and it was just a message that it just got completely shifted from what it actually really was. I was getting death threats, which is crazy, over us changing a preservative system. That is wild. My team was reading really, 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 really terrible things. When people are in a group, you know, it creates an environment where you might say something that you wouldn't normally say, or you may jump on a bandwagon that, you know, if it was a one-on-one thing, you would never do that, right? And I'm aware of that. Yeah. And so I think the thing that's important with us is that we ground ourselves in what's true. And so the things that pulled me out of those situations is I just grounded myself in, well, I know that that wasn't the case. I know that those things aren't true, right? But it's still hard when like millions and millions and millions of people are sending energy your way. It's really hard, especially if you're a person like me. You know, I know it's like a thing to say that we're empathic, but yeah, I mean, it was hard, but we had a team, we had work to do, we had humans that we had to serve, right? There were people that were unkind, and it just got to the point to where we just had to be like, look, let's just stop talking to those humans that don't have positive, beautiful things to say. Like, you know, you can still be upset and not be mean, right? Mm-hmm. You can still be upset and not be disrespectful, you know. And we needed to parse through that, right? What didn't mean that we were turning away from things that were hard. We were facing the things that were hard, but we're not going to be disrespected, right? Because our intention is grounded in a beautiful place, right? And as long as we can remember that, and that was the rallying cry within our team, and I just had to get myself together, you know, because it took me out, you know. It was really hard, but I think and going back to your original question around like wanting to live an abundant life, I do, y'all. I got like 4 houses. I like money. I do. I do. I like money. I want to live well. I'm willing to work for it. I'm willing to do what I got to do, right? I'm willing to put my head down. You know, I want to take care of my mother. I need my mother to live well, right? And I do that. I take care of her, right? I take care of her. I take care of myself. You know, my brothers, this is what I'm working like this for. I'm sorry, I'm not working myself into the ground to not be wealthy. I'm not doing that, right? I am doing this to be wealthy. Let's be clear. Yes. Right? And I am not ashamed of that. I am no different than any other business person. And I pray that if any of you guys are in business for yourself, I pray that you are doing it to accumulate wealth, because that is what business is for. That's what it's for, y'all. It's to make money. That's why we go to work every day, because we have to take care of ourselves, our family, right? And we should not be ashamed of that. If you have the ability to create a business that can grow and scale and be a 9-figure business, and you have the ability to turn that into a business that has a value of $1 billion or more, do it. Do that. Right? Walk away. Get your bread. because that is what business is created for. Unless you're going to hold me to the same standard as you hold the person who founded Dove and who founded Dawn and who founded Procter & Gamble and who founded Kimberly-Clark, miss me with anything you got to say, because I'm just doing the same thing that those people did, right? And so we should all hold each other with the same respect and same appreciation. And because I'm a Black woman, you know, and I'm grateful to say I'm a very successful Black woman. There is not a lot of us, y'all. We got to care for each other. And if I can do it, you can do it, right? You can. You can. And so if anything, pray for me, right? Because I'm praying for you, right? I want to be successful so that the next Black woman that comes behind me that has to go out here and raise money, guess what she's going to be able to say? She's going to be able to show the comp of what my business has been able to accomplish, because that's what happens. That's how it works. That's why we don't have access to the funding that we should have, because there's not enough of us doing it. So when they see us, they see, oh, that looks like, oh, I don't know. I don't understand that, right? Because they understand what they can see, right? Even though we are probably going to do it better than anybody, right? Because we don't have the same opportunities as everybody else, because we've been conditioned that we have to work 10 times harder, because of those things. So if you get the opportunity, do it. Even if somebody says you sold out, so what? Right? Don't be mad at me, sis, because I worked my ass off, right? I'm just doing what I need to do. I'm minding my business. I'm drinking my water. I'm taking care of my family. I'm living in my house in Costa Rica. I'm living in my house here. Like, I'm doing whatever I have to do to create and design the life that I want. And we all have the ability to do that. We all do. And we all need to mind our business and focus on doing that. If you focusing on somebody else, you not minding yours, you know?
And so I'm going to end here because I was going to ask you, what did you want people to leave with when they read this book? But I have the perfect ending. And I thought it was going to be the ending. It felt like the mic drop, but you kept going. But I'm going to read it. All of this was heavy. And this was during your mushroom journey. And you said, and I needed to get off of me. And we're talking about you experienced, or it came to you during this journey, your trauma at birth and the fact that you just wanted, being in NICU and just wanting to be loved by your mother and all these strangers and caring for you, but you just wanted to be with your mother. So all of this was heavy and I needed to get it off of me. We each have our own layers of muck, wounds we haven't processed for whatever reason. And it's not like you do a mushroom journey and suddenly voila, you're healed and you will never suffer again. No, you'll still go through trauma and drama and conflict. That will continue forever because you are a human being in the world. But it's important from time to time to acknowledge some of the hardest stuff you've been through and stare those down until you've exterminated them or truly healed from them. Being present is a lifelong pursuit. It's not like you figure out how to do it and then cross a finish line. But for me, sitting in the here and now starts with taking care of my spirit and my soul and all these versions of myself that are living inside me, rooted in the past. I want those versions of B to understand that we don't have to be stuck. We can keep moving, we can be happy and successful, and we will be. Thank you. It's wonderful. Yes, thank you.